Okay, so our program is a first-person zombie. Is fending off zombies in order to get the cure for the zombie plague. So, all right, so we'll go ahead and just start off with an overview of how our program is laid out. So go to the model layer here, and so the model layer just kind of goes over all the objects, the data that the program has to store. So whenever the program says this is all the information that the program has to handle. And so you'll notice that there's lines linking what's related, like this states that a player can have many weapons and etc. So all the lines between the classes, those are all the relationships, and shows how many of each instance that we'll need. And so, and then down here we have the view layer, which, or not the view, the control layer, which handles all the functions and the calculations that the program will have to do. And so like we have the add weapon and there's different functions for like the zombie movement and how much damage they deal in attack, and so this deals with all the interactions and between objects in the game. And so, and then the final layer will be the view layer, but we don't have that developed yet. That's going to be the user interface, and that's going to handle getting input from the user, and also going to handle what is displayed to the user. And so for our video, we'll just kind of walk through the control class there. We're going to go through that member function of the zombie control class and kind of walk through the development of that with you. So.
Okay, next we're going to talk about the demonstrated understanding of a UML class diagram. So in this diagram, I used the model layer to show you. So each blue boxes, we call it a class. So in each classes, there are attributes inside for the first layer, and the second layer there are some operators. So the attributes, there's a sign next to it. So for example, this one we got -1, which means it is a private attribute in this function, in this player's function. And for the operators, they are public. They're public for which is help to get what we need for this attribute, and they are public. And through these all blue boxes, and there's some connection linked to it. And from here is 0 to 1 means there's 0 to 1 player, and here there's a 0 to unlimited weapon items. It can be there in the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then next we're going to talk about.
So yeah, we're going to talk about that calculate movement speed function. So if you move down to. You don't need to.
For being first.
Well, that'll. Oh yeah. Okay. So when we create this function, we create what's called a Java bean, which is basically just is the function itself, and each Java bean contains an individual function. And so here we have a Java bean for the zombie control class, and so if you scroll down to the zombie control, and
zombie control is over here.
Yeah, so see if we can get to that. All right, so this is our Java bean, and this will contain all the functions of the zombie control class. And so here we have the calculate movement speed, which, as you can see, modifies how fast the zombie will move based on how much health it has. And the more it's hurt, the slower it'll move. And you'll notice that we passed in these double functions, or not double functions, these the variables we passed in, movement, speed, and health, are doubles, and we passed them in as doubles as the private variables, so that we can multiply and divide with them without any problems. And so yeah, so we just passed in the values as primitive values rather than the whole object, just to make it easier, the function easier to work with. So.
Okay, next we're going to demonstrate the application of the functional development process. So we're going to show you in the original Word document first off. The first step is state the problem. So for example, we're doing this calculate movement speed function, and that's one of the problem. And then we have to decide why do we need it. And in this diagram, we will create this different text matrix, and we put inputs in it, and we create the value for that, and we will calculate the valid one and invalid one and the boundary. And then we put in it, and we for example here the movement speed is 10 and the health is 90, and we put the output for modified speed for 9. And for the invalid one, we put the errors in it. So eventually, we will come up an algorithm, and that's basically the calculation that we input in the computer. For here, if movement speed 0 to 0, then we return -1, which is an error. And if health is less than 0, we'll return as an error as well. And we eventually come up with this calculation. And at the next step, we have to create another test case and make sure our algorithm is the right one. So we put the information from the test matrix back to this test case, and we put it into this formula. And we if the output is correct and what we want, and that's correct. And next, we have to put it into a Java bean, into the net bean, and actually put it into a function. So in a net bean, we create in the zombie control class that we used before. For here, we first create a public class, and we create the variables for that. So double means like it's a number. So we put what we created for the formula, and then we put it in, and then we have to test it. And just like what we did in the Word document. So we create a test package over here, and then in the end we create a zombie test control test, and then we implement it. And we put the test, and then we put all the variables and the numbers in it, and then at the end we will left in test file, and then we run through it, and it will show whether it's correct or not.
Mm-hmm.
So run anyway. So the test result will say is successful and it's 100%, which means this function is correct. Mm-hmm. So this is the end. And then if there's any error, we have to debug it, and then until we get 100%. And that's the debug.
And I think that's about all. I think that it should cover it.
Okay.
And hope you enjoyed our video. And
oh wait, we still have to talk about the creativity and the variable scope. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
here we still have to talk about this permanent data types operators.
We did talk about it.
Okay, so I have to talk about variable scope.
Here I can. All right. Oh, good. So, all right. So to kind of finalize everything. So if we go back to the Java bean screen, we can So when we add more functions, here, go back to zombie, or not, zombie control class. Okay. So as we add more functions, we'll put them below the double class here. And so yeah, we'll put them additional functions here. And so all of this, like the movement speed and modified speed, all of that will remain in this function here. And any functions that we add after that, they will not be able to access those. It'll stay in calculate movement speed. So that's the scope of those variables.
And for scope for variable, and the variable actually, for example, for movement speed and health, when we first enter it, it becomes like this, and we call it the birth of a variables. At the end, we'll have a calculation and do it, and that's the depth of the variables, and what we call it the scope, and that's one scope, and it started from there to here, and that's what we understand about scope. So at last, we're going to demonstrate our creativity of our game.
So we'll go ahead and show you an image that we hope our final product will look like, although
Okay.
forward is still.
So we kind of take this idea from a game which called the Counter-Strike. So it's a game that the police is fighting terrorists. So that's what we want, and we have the health over here, and we have the map, a little map, but we change all the enemies into zombies. And there's a bullet, and there's a weapons that you can get on the ground, and
All right.
yeah, and that's our main idea, and we try to make it more fun, and that's our presentation.
All right. Thank you for listening, and guess we'll see you next time.